Hello, everybody. I am Renee Michaelis, and with me I have Ausyarr, and we're about to discuss free speech. So, do you want to tell the audience about your?
Oh, about myself? Well, there's not much to say. I run a small YouTube channel. I've been at it for a long time. Um, I have not been flagged yet, but only because I'm careful. Uh, but well, actually, I have been really. I have actually had a. I was once DCMA'd by Brianna Wu, so there's my claim to fame. Rin?
You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I've got no idea what happened there.
Okay. But yeah, I've been getting away with saying all of the insults that I want, as long as I say it's in Japanese instead of English.
Yeah, my theory was that the bots are only looking for uh, probably English and probably German because uh, the English speaking countries and the German speaking countries are the ones most concerned about shutting people's speech down. So Germany, America, UK, and parts of Europe where was Mexico, Spain, they haven't got these free speech issues at the moment, and they're not really concerned about people saying stuff. So they're not putting pressure on YouTube to do anything about it. Therefore, YouTube doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, because I remember like there are what's it, Trusted Flagger? I think it's Sweeney or Queenie. Anyway, there have been some trusted flaggers, and they were on Schmeckel's channel. They were
Hmm.
on the Warski Live, and they were on V's channel, and they all been saying that YouTube is only looking out for English. YouTube isn't really fucking with any other language. They are just strictly censoring English speakers. And not only that, but it's like I even noticed kind of like with like Viva la Raza. I mean, I'm pretty sure that many people know what it means by now. And it's kind of like people have been saying Viva la Raza in Spanish. And it's kind of a lot like it's not even being mentioned by Right Wing Watch, even though like Right Wing Watch has been paying a lot of attention to YouTubers. They wrote multiple pieces on Sticks Hexenhammer 666, and they write multiple pieces on YouTubers. But it's kind of like with Viva La Raza, and I looked it up at the Google's search engine, the news part, and it's like they're not saying anything about Viva La Raza. It seems like they're really specifically going after anything you say that's in English. It's like we English speakers are going through this Orwellian nightmare where there's fewer things to say.
I suppose also it depends on who YouTube is hiring to do uh, all the checking and the coding behind it. So if they're not actually hiring Spanish speakers to do the moderating, they're not going to get anything done moderating wise with other languages because it's very hard for bots to pick up, say, Spanish if the people programming aren't Spanish.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So the bots are not going to pick up any Spanish if the people who are programming it don't speak Spanish. That's true.
I also thought that most of the stuff that bots do are programmed from all the Google searches that people do, um, and I would imagine that the bulk of Google searches come from English-speaking countries. So the only things they can learn from are from English-speaking countries. Although they can learn from others, but not to the same extent.
Yeah, that's true. But either way, no matter what the reason, it seems like, it's kind of like when you're speaking English, you can't really say anything. Like you can't talk about gun rights because, it's kind of like talk about gun rights will get suppressed. You can't talk about anything controversial because it's kind of like you try to talk about if you try to talk about LGBT issues, you must have the politically correct opinions. And even what I've noticed is kind of like even ContraPoints had a video or two taken down for trying to challenge the alt-right. It's kind of like, and that's also a free speech issue because if you censor words or phrases, you're also preventing anybody from challenging it.
Yeah, it's just too easy for people to flag and remove that video just because of the words being said, not the context, because the context is a refutation of those words. But because the words are said, the bots don't look at context. Sort of like Count Dracula's case. Context doesn't matter with the bots.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a lot like, and it's like I've been saying this for so long, and I'm pretty sure that you've been saying this too. It's like words don't matter, context does. Because when it comes to the Count Dankula situation, that was clearly a joke. And not only Count Dankula, but I mean, even Vadim Newquist went through this because he said some things. I'm not going to repeat it because this is what got him a strike, but he said some things, some, let's say, edgy things to try to make fun of racist people. And that's what got him a community guideline strike. Because when you go saying you can't use these words no matter what, and you ignore the context, well, it's kind of like, well, this is what where progressive or left-leaning channels, who wants to argue against it or make fun of it or mock it, where they are also at risk of getting community guideline strikes because Vadim Newquist, he got two community guideline strikes and he was at risk at getting his channel terminated. And he had to like, I think he had to delete the videos or privatize them. And he was like really upset about it because he spent like a month working on it. And it's like, well, I spent a whole month working on it and I have to put it on and I had to put it on private.
Yeah, I think some left-wing YouTubers are sort of coming to the realization that uh, that you can't trust YouTube to be on your side, even if you're like, whether what, no matter what side you're on, if you're a left-wing, right-wing, centrist, right, you can't trust YouTube to apply the rules equally because it's a massive platform. They're relying on bots. They just can't do it. They can't look at context all the time. I guess the people who check the bots afterwards, occasionally they're trustworthy, right? But if you're making content that's flaggable, expect it to be flaggable. And I suppose it's sort of he should have known this, but I don't think he's been paying attention. Well, I guess he's paying attention now.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny part is because I think I do remember having an argument with him on Twitter like months ago, where I said that words don't matter, the context does, and he's been arguing the opposites. Like, no, a person shouldn't use like this word no matter what. I mean, that wasn't the word that got him banned. But he did use another something that could be viewed as a racial slur. He just didn't use the N word, but he still used something that could be viewed as a racial slur. And I was like, no, no, no. Context matters. A person should be able to use all the words that they want. It is the context that works because in the end, you cannot kill an idea because you could always, bring it up in Spanish, or you could even invent a word. Words have been constantly added to the dictionary. We now have over 1 billion words in the English dictionary. Who is to stop somebody from inventing a word? Which is how we got bypass censorship. Like before, people can't say you can't use the Lord's name in vain. So because you couldn't use the Lord's name in vain, you say gosh. You can't say damn, so you say darn. You would say
Mm.
gosh darn it instead of saying God damn it. And it's like instead of saying fuck, you would say freak, to get past the censorship. Who is to stop anybody from merely inventing a word?
Well, that's where the triple parentheses come from, where you see people talking about Jewish people.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I mean, you can't really stop an idea. I mean, this is the one thing that I do disagree with Orwell, because Orwell's like, oh, if you get rid of words, there's no hope when really. This isn't new. What happens usually is that people get creative and they start inventing new words, you know.
Oh, just he was just coming to my mind. I can't remember his name, but he's a very famous comedian. He's dead now. But he said something like, political correctness was like just like fascism, uh, in nice words. He said that uh, if you try and stop people from using words and say you use another word, so like they changed from they didn't want people to use the word retard, so they used things like disabled, and then disabled just merely meant retarded, and then they didn't like the idea of people using disabled, so now they use differently abled, and now different label is taking on the meaning of disabled and on the meaning of retard. So even on a political correctness front, the the words themselves, right, that they're trying to get rid of, those meanings on those words just moved to the new word, and that's why we're living in a cycle.
Yeah, I've noticed that back when I was a kid because adults want kids to be perfectly good. Adults want kids to be angelic and whatnot. But what happens is they're like, hey, 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 you don't want to use like these, words against the mentally disabled kids. So it's like these kids are special ed. Okay, they are special, and what happens is special gets used as an insult, like that person is special, like wink. It's kind of it's kind of like, so the politically correct word is the new offensive word,
Yeah,
because now special gets used as an insult.
yeah, being on the special bus, for example, is an insult.
Yes, like you're on these special bus, or you're these special students, and it's kind of like, that that person is using special as and insults, it's kind of like you can't stop people from being rude to each other. And it's, this is also where, progressives stab themselves in the foot because even they, want to be rude to people. Even like when you follow progressive people on Twitter, like when you follow the usual suspects, the progressive channels, or the progressive people, they also like want to like insult the turfs. They want to insult the alt-rights. So like there are people that even they want to be rude and nasty towards, wanting to be rude to people you don't like. It's a very natural thing.
Yeah, the Turfs have really taken advantage of that situation because they know the rules. And whenever, say, progressive people insult them or even starting to just use the word or the acronym TERF, they're now being suspended and having their accounts deleted because the TERFs are now reporting them using the rules.
Exactly. And oh, it's not just the turfs, it's the alt-rights. The alt-rights has been, flagging progressive channels using their own rules. And it's kind of a lot like it's kind of like I think that when they were thinking like this is a great idea, it's because somebody called them fats before. And it's like, well, somebody called me fat before, and I don't like that. Or somebody called them stupid before, and they're thinking like, wow, somebody called me stupid. I don't like that. We need to have rules to, spare my feelings. But then they don't really think that they themselves are equally using equally guilty of using these words for people that they don't like the TERFs or the alt-rights. So the alt-rights has the ability to use their own rules against them because it's kind of like when they were thinking of these rules, they were thinking to spare themselves from mean words over the internet. They don't think about all the instances where they were guilty of using the very language that they're complaining about.
Curated says this is how metaphors were invented by circumventing taboo words. Oh, I don't know exactly the origins of metaphors, but he's definitely right in that metaphors are sort of used as a way to circumvent these rules.
I curated, that's a woman, I think. Like because curated I think is
Whoops,
also literally who. And I think she's a Russian woman
my bad.
or Ukrainian or something.
Yeah, with the circumventing words, I think if you don't want people to say stuff on your channel that are rude, there are word filters you can put on your community channel. Um, yes, it is somewhat censorship, but it's your own on your own platform, right? And it's not relying on YouTube and their bots to
Yeah,
do it.
it's different if they were to put a word filter on their own channel. And even when it comes to Twitter, Twitter has a way for people to mute words. And they could always mute people, mute words, where it's kind of like you're still censoring, but it's kind of like I would agree that freedom of speech would include freedom from speech. It's kind of like it's kind of like freedom of religion would include freedom from religion. You are obligated to go to church. And I'm not obligated to watch a movie. I'm not obligated to read a book. Freedom of speech would include freedom from speech. But it's kind of like it also includes freedom to listen. If, like, take the kill stream, there are people who are paying to hear Ethan Ralph speak. Freedom of speech includes freedom to listen. If people want to listen to something, and even pay for it, they should have the ability to do so.
Yeah, well, that's the big problem. People they're relying too much on others to prevent the speech from getting to them when they can easily prevent that themselves.
That reminds me, like I was watching this video from a progressive channel where I think that they were saying that Gap AI losing its domain registrar is justified. And the reason why they were saying it was justified is because they allow hate speech. And the reason why hate speech is a problem is because it's kind of like the idea could spread and whatnot. And it's kind of like, well, it's like if one person believes it's not a problem. But it's kind of like the idea is so strong that it could spread from person to person when really it's kind of like, well, that's why you got to debate ideas. Because I mean, this is also a problem against censorship, is because it's kind of like you would want to have the skills and talent it takes to debunk bad ideas.
Oh, that's the problem with Gab being removed by the domain provider is that it sets precedents, meaning that in the future, should a progressive website be taken down, they can't complain because there was a precedence already and they were happy with it. And it's just a matter of who's doing it. So it was like when Trump got elected. People didn't expect Trump to get elected, so they were sort of expecting Hillary to get elected. Problem is that if you think that the people who are going to be doing the censoring are going to be in power, you have to at least what is it? You have to act as if uh, the worst possible person is going to get in power, and therefore you don't want the worst possible person having the powers to remove speech, because equally someone could say to a progressive, we're shutting down your site, right, because we believe your progressive values will lead to communism, aka Stalin. And then what's your retort going to be? You won't have one, because your idea of what was going to come out of Gab was just the alternative to Stalin.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had myself muted. I put a link into side chat because something like that has already happened. It's from BuzzFeed, and it's I actually agreed with that article because it was about how, bots were actually censoring a bunch of LGBT groups from Facebook, and the reason why is because apparently LGBT people like using derogatory terms, but for themselves. You know, like how Black people use the N word. Well, just like Black
Mm.
people use the N word, LGBT plus people they also use you know um insults that actually applied to themselves. And what happens was that the Facebook bots couldn't tell the difference, so they actually mass banned a bunch of LGBT users. It was kind of funny, but it's kind of like when people advocate for censorship, they never, ever, ever think that they're going to get punished by their own rules. It's like, oh, come on, that is stupid. When really, what they don't get is that bots don't understand context. And because YouTube is so big, like because YouTube has millions and millions of people all over the world using it, it's kind of like it is impossible for the bots to understand that you are, a Black person saying the N word or a gay person using the F word. It's like the bots don't get that.
That also happened recently as well with not not on controversial words, but on fake news. I believe Facebook removed about 800 pages, and about like a good chunk of them were just left wing community groups. And the reason why they were removed is because at some point they may have shared something that Facebook considered fake news, when in reality most of them were just alternatives to mainstream media.
Go on.
Yeah, so the I don't. Sometimes it's the bots that can't understand context. Sometimes it's also the people who are running the bots that do understand context, but at the same time they're trying to get rid of also uh, competitors as well, but they're using the context of fake news or rude words.
Yeah, yeah, the problem is that bots don't understand context and but you said, but I was thinking of one solution, and the solution the only solution I could think about is doing, and this is actually inspired by my foreign friends. Like I have, Japanese friends that use Facebook, and so it's partially inspired by them. It's like I think what would be a good idea is for people who want to not be unpersoned and not because it does seem like, and this has happened to a few people, it's like where I know this happens to Mr. Medicare, where he got suspended on YouTube and Twitter at the exact same time. And I think the exact same thing happens to Alice Jones, where Alice Jones got suspended at Twitter, YouTube, and like all of the big companies, all at the exact same time. So what I was thinking is that as a solution to avoid being unpersoned, people could move to like vk.com. And the reason why I think it's a good idea to move to vk.com is because for starters, I saw hate speech. I saw plenty of hate speech there, like things that would get you kicked off Twitter, things that would basically gets you kicked off of normie internets or mainstream internets. Those things would not get you kicked off vk.com. It seems that they would allow absolutely anything on there except criticism of Vladimir Putin and criticism of the Russian governments. And it would be impossible for, the progressives to go after the domain registrar or, whatnot. It's because vk.com is, their headquarters is in Moscow, Russia. So I highly doubt that they're going to suffer the problems that BitChutes is going through because PayPal is no longer wants to deal with BitChutes, and Gabby they had to find a new domain registrar. I just thought that people could pull this off with vk.com.
Well, yeah, you've got to diversify across multiple platforms because as uh, like what happened to Gab, if you move from YouTube thinking going to Gab was a good idea because it was just a free speech platform, um, the problem is that Gab, while it might be a free speech platform, hasn't got free speech of its own to maintain that platform. It has to rely on payment processes like Stripe and PayPal and the domain for, providers. With VK, on the other hand, all that stuff is Russian or Ukrainian, etc. So the rules are different, and you have to go to different platforms that haven't got the same pressure that the ones in the US has or the ones in Europe have, or else you're just going to fall into the same pocket of that meme where there's uh like the character of death goes through one door, goes through the next, and there's a blood trail coming through at one, and then there's one door at the end that hasn't got the blood trail coming out, but death is going into it, and they usually put Sargon's face or someone else's face on the death, saying wherever he goes, he kills.
Yeah,
Well,
I see the one with Sargon's face of it. Like, well, Sargon killed Kyrgyzstan. Sargon killed the Liberal movement. Sargon killed the Skeptic movement. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's
well, the thing about that meme is it's somewhat true in regards to, say, Ralph or people like Ralph, is that wherever they go, so do the enemies of Ralph and Ralph's friends. So if Ralph goes to another platform, like that has the same pressure points that Gab had, all that's going to happen is his enemies are just going to move to the new target and pressure them in the same way they pressure Gab and Stripe and PayPal, etc., to remove them. So in a sense, if you just move to another one that's got those same pressure points, you yourself are going to be somewhat responsible for their death.
Yeah, because it's a lot like there is a pattern, like there is a pattern. Like there are people that are very well hated, like Alex Jones, because Alex Jones tries to move to place, it's kind of like, so it's kind of like what happens is that you get a lot of hate followers where there are people who hates your guts, but they are following you. They are following you on Twitter. They're following on you on YouTube. They hate your guts. It's kind of like, how Jared Holtz and Sticks Hexenhammer have this thing going on between them. It's kind of like you probably, like, the bigger you are, like, Alex Jones, the more hate followers you got. And they are trying to get rid of you. And what happens is they would try to report you. And if you say nothing that could get you successfully reported, what they do is that they go to Jared Holtz, because Jared Holtz has some right wing watch, and what happens is right wing watch would like writes a piece, or it's kind of like the Wall Street Journal would writes a piece, kind of like how Wall Street Journal's kind of like, oh, those racist bigots, they get past YouTube censorship by using basketball Americans to, get past these racial slurs, so they be mindful that they use parentheses, and they write a piece, because they know all about you, because people that don't like you, they make sure to tell the press all about you. And it's kind of like the press will get you, and then you get kicked off YouTube, and you get kicked off, mainstream internets. And it's kind of like, well, you tried to go to, it's like, well, fine, Dan, I'm going to make the most out of it. I'm going to go to Gab AI. I'm going to go to Minds and whatnots. I'm going to go to BitChutes. What happens is BitChutes is a free speech platform, and Gab is a free speech platform. So what they do is that they go out of the domain registrar, because BitChutes used to be parts of Discuss, but Discuss didn't want BitChutes anymore, so they had to use a different domain registrar, and and what happens then with Gab AI and BitChutes is that PayPal was like, well, we want nothing to do with you. And Stripe it also is like, well, we want nothing to do with you. So it's kind of like what happens is that these websites begin to suffer. And I wouldn't be surprised if this would happen to Streamy, because they are going to make sure that, the kill stream, that they lose everything. However, when it comes to VK.com, their headquarters is in Moscow, Russia, and they don't give a shit. When it comes to Russia, they don't give a shit, and it's kind of like I've also seen the interview that Lawrence Southern did with some Russian guy, and I think he say, what's your propagandist, a Russian propagandist, connected to pizza somehow. I forget, but it's kind of like from what I see from Russia, is that they don't really care for. They don't seem to have Western morality. They don't seem to share the exact same morals and values that the U.S. and the U.K. have. So it's kind of like, and so for people who want to escape the censorship and want to avoid being the unpersoned, it seems like it would be a good idea to go to vk.com. And it's kind of like, look at the morals of the country, look at the country's values. And if this country doesn't give a fuck about intersectional feminism, and they don't, they're like, just block it. If they have the attitude of, if you don't like it, you can block it, then that is the websites that you need to use because I highly doubt that there are all that many progressives that can speak Russian.
Yeah, I think I was talking to you about if you wanted a free speech platform and you were going to make this free speech platform, you can't have 100% free speech platform in an environment where uh, people are actively trying to get rid of your platform. So the reason why Gab and what's the other one? Gab, Minds, etc., and now Stream Me are going to fail is because they offer that 100% free speech, essentially, and because they offer that 100% free speech, lots of all the people who are going to exploit that free speech to actually say hate speech or things that's close to it, they're going to move to those things. The enemies are going to go with them, and then the enemies are going to convince them to get rid of the domain, the Stripe, the PayPal, etc. Um, the reason, oh, sorry, I'm going to rethink this for a second. Uh, the the way to survive in this environment is either go to a place where your payment providers can't be pressured like VK, or you go to a place that's not 100% free speech, but it's just more free speech than say Twitter or more than YouTube. And that place doesn't exist yet because right now people are thinking either 100% free speech or no free speech. But with VK, that's 100%, almost 100% free speech, minus criticizing Putin. And in a
Yes,
sense, that works because it exists in an environment right where it lives by the rules and the free speech rules. Now it's not 100% free speech, right? But you have to accept that you're not going to get 100% free speech.
yeah, there is no 100% free speech, but it's kind of like when the last time I was at VK.com and I shit you not, I actually saw a post that did have a call to violence, which is against the US Constitution. The US Constitution doesn't cover a call to violence, and you could actually get punished for that in all 50 states, but they actually allowed that at VK.com. They don't give a flying fuck. You, the only rules that seems to be there, from what I could see, is don't criticize Vladimir Putin and don't criticize the Russian government because VK.com actually was like shut down for like 2 or 3 days. And the reason why is because there were criticism of Vladimir Putin there. And so that's the reason why VK was shut down for 2 or 3 days to make sure that all of the criticisms were gone. And like nowadays, they could just block your IP address because I'm pretty sure that nowadays, like progressives, would perhaps spam insults of Vladimir Putin, but you could block somebody's IP address and make sure that their IP can't join. Or what some websites do is that you need to have like a phone number with them, so it's kind of like because that is actually I think how I joined VK. I gave them my cell phone number and they sent the code to my cell phone number. So it's kind of like I highly doubt that's they're they'll probably find a way to make sure that Americans could stay, but just get rid of these specific Americans that want to insult Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, because it's a good way of preventing bots or multiple accounts is uh, to grab people's phone numbers. Because if you decide to go against the rules, they're going to get rid of you. They can prevent you from coming back by having you provide another phone number. Which for some people, you can provide as many phone numbers as possible. But for a lot of people, getting a different phone number every single time is quite difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and it's like they send you the code, to your phone number. So it's kind of like unless they're really rich and be are able to get the code in several different phone numbers, it's like you're not joining the websites. And that's the exact same thing is true for Youku. Youku is Chinese YouTube, and you join Chinese YouTube the same way. They send you the code to your phone number, and and you have like a limited amount of time. It's kind of like they're giving you 1 minute to go to your phone number, get the code, and type the code into your computer.
I mean, if you went to YouTube, I doubt you'd have more free speech there, but you'd have a different amount, or you'd have different type of free speech there. So
Yeah,
you might have to spread your content around. So if you want to criticize Putin, do it on YouTube. If you want to do other stuff, do it on VK.
Yeah, exactly. That has been what I've been thinking about. It's kind of like if you want to criticize Putin or the Russian government, you would use YouTube and Twitter, because YouTube and Twitter is not going to care if you criticize Vladimir Putin. The left does it all the time. But if you're on, VK.com, you can't criticize the Russian government. We could say pretty much everything else because, I mean, I've seen a call to violence there. So it's kind of like if they're going to allow that, they pretty much allow everything. Like I saw a video on VK.com of a person getting whipped. It's like it's 2 months old. It's going to be almost 3 months old, and the video of a person getting whipped is still on VK.com. They really don't give a flying fuck what you have on their websites.
Plus, it probably costs some money to moderate them as well. So, um, have you heard? Have you heard much about the Article 13 in the EU?
Yeah, it passed, and YouTube has saved your internet from Article 13. And if that doesn't happen, then YouTube would have to block everything. Like, there's no way they could live up to the EU standards. It's like it's impossible for them to live up to the standards of the EU. So what they would have to do is mass block US content from the EU users.
You know what? I actually thought this might actually be a good thing for us small people, not so good for the big people, because one, if YouTube has to pull out of the EU, first of all, that means the EU can no longer pressure YouTube to pull certain channels and certain speech, right? So YouTube might actually relax on the free speech issue because Germany is a big proprietor of stopping people from saying stuff. That they have laws which will send you to jail if you say deny the Holocaust, etc. Um, the other thing is that with YouTube being pulled out of the EU, that opens up an opportunity for EU alternatives to spring up, and therefore there's a marketplace, and therefore there's a competition for people going on there. So essentially, those people will be less likely to shut down certain free speech, right? But because they want to get the viewership, etc. So there's two things about the EU article. But for the big people, it's generally bad because they're going to cut half their viewership.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like PewDiePie, who has fans all over the world, and PewDiePie, who has like 70 million subscribers. He's fucked over because it's kind of like, I mean, sure, he could move to the United States or move to Japan, but still, I mean, PewDiePie is absolutely fucked because his fans are all over the world. But for small creators like you and me, this would perhaps actually benefit us because we would probably because I mean there's no longer a reason for us to go by EU's hate speech rules because in the United States we don't have hate speech here. It's kind of like there is nothing against the law against hate speech. So what would perhaps happen is that YouTube would be similar to the way it was in 2008, where people could go back to saying, I mean, not 100% of what they want, but they could say pretty much whatever they want.
Yeah, this might actually affect the mainstream media as well quite a lot, because the reason why YouTube's going to get affected is because you sort of have to prove that everything that you put in a video is by your own creation or that you have the rights to. So YouTube obviously is pulling out of the EU because that's a massive task. Not even YouTube or Google can do that. But the say Fox News, CNN, etc., like they're going to have a difficult time. They may not make as much content, right? But they won't be able to prove everything that they put up. Because remember how many clips they use from other people? They may have a difficult time. The people who might succeed in the EU are the groups that uh, don't follow the laws already, like the alternative media, so like 4chan, etc. Uh, people are going to be going to there more often, right? Because they won't have to put so much effort into proving that their stuff is original, because they won't even bother.
Yeah, I'm just, in a way, I'm just happy of the idea of like all of my contents being blocked by EU users, because I feel like I would have more freedom that way instead of less freedom, because you do realize that, yeah, we've discussed this, that YouTube and Google, they signed a contract with the EU to combat hate speech. Something that hate speech is something we don't even have in the United States. So it's kind of like this would be like more freedom for us, because it's kind of like, now that I know that my content would be automatically blocked by European users, I mean, again, this would be negatively it would negatively impact big creators, but it would give me more. This is an opportunity for me to, really be creative and really see what I want, instead of thinking like, oh well, I can't really talk about guns, because if I talk about guns, or I would probably this would happen to my channel. I can't discuss the shooting, because if I discuss the shooting, this would happen to my channel. I can't discuss this. I can't discuss that. But it's just kind of like, it's kind of like, so for me, it's kind of like separate, having my channel blocked by it. And think about all the people in who are in that area who love flagging people. There would be less people to flag my channel or attempt to.
Yeah, like a whole continent of flag is gone.
Yes, kind of, because it seems like the people who love flagging people, it I can name quite a few people from, England, and I could think of some German users, but it's kind of a lot like, it's like, this is great. Fewer people that it's going to bother to flag my content, and I could say more things.
Did you notice that my Twitter got suspended a little bit a few days ago?
No, I haven't noticed, because
That's because I
I've
didn't
been,
complain about it.
I, huh?
I didn't complain about it, so I didn't tell anyone. But it happened, and
Yeah,
for the dumbest reasons.
yeah, I didn't notice, because I been arguing with people on Twitter. I mean, apparently there were people on Twitter who really did not like the videos I've made defending Ethan Ross free speech. There were people who took issue with that, and it's kind of like I'm saying that I'm defending his free speech, and they're like, "Oh, you're just in love with that guy. He's your daddy," because it's kind of like, so by defending his free speech, I'm in love with him. But it's like I've defended the free speech, even like you must have seen me defend the free speech of Kevin Logan. You must have seen me defend the free speech of Michael Rowlands. I've defended the free speech of a wide range of people, even people I've never really heard of before, have no idea who they were until they got their channels terminated. Like there's this guy. I mean, I would have to look back in my channel. I have it all in a playlist. But there's this YouTuber. I had no idea who he was, never heard of him, but he had his channel terminated. So I made, a video about his channel getting terminated. It's just that for me, I just don't really speak out about people getting losing their Twitter accounts anymore because that happens all the time now. And it's kind of like given that, thousands of people have been purged from Twitter. I'm just not going to keep up with all of the wide range of people who've been permanently suspended off Twitter.
Oh, yeah, like I'm one of the Twitter accounts that rarely gets suspended, or before now ever gets suspended because I'm very careful. I made the mistake of telling someone they might as well politically shoot themselves in the foot. Uh, and Twitter's like, "Uh-oh, you're encouraging suicide."
Issa politically shoots themselves in the foot and they
Yeah,
took it for committing suicide.
yeah, aka don't sabotage yourself.
That is so ridiculous. It's also the reason why, I mean, I've been really careful. It's kind of like when I want to say something very offensive to somebody, I always switch to Japanese. It's like I want to say some really nasty things to you, but I know that I can't say all of these horrible things to you in English. So I'm going to say it in Japanese because I really don't like you. You know,
It looks like the Palmer in the chat had one of their Medico/Sargon video yesterday, like struck down when it had 17K. Palmer, if you listen to this, can you tell us what was the reason, or was it like a clip of a video, or was it like a video you put together that got struck down? So many things that can get your video taken down. Sometimes it's just like YouTube's automatically just finds videos that exist in two places and gets rid of them. Sometimes it's just that it's a clip of a kill stream. I think a lot of the times, if you're a small person and you just have the same content as a larger person, the bots will get rid of you because you're generating less views for them than say someone big.
I
Have
don't
you
know.
noticed that?
I've seen small channels lo- people losing their contents like a there's this small tiny there's this small tiny content creator. I think he has like 100 subscribers. His name is Gabe Samurai, but he had a different YouTube channel called Gabe the Pony and that got terminated. There is a YouTuber called Reaper and he Lottie Creeper changed his name, but he had um community guideline strikes on his channel, and he was at risk of getting his channel terminated. And he had 300 subscribers because bots don't care if you're big or small. What happens is, I think bigger people actually have it better because if you're bigger, you have trusted flagger. However, if you are smaller, well, I mean, nobody really knows you exist anyway, so
Yeah, no
there's
one's going to
nobody
come to your
around to
defense.
report it. But I mean, let me look at chat again. Let's see. Palmer says they just struck down my Medicare Sargon video yesterday. Had 7K views. Clip of the kill stream when Sargon came on a couple of days ago. Ago to go at gym. I don't know why I got taken down for it, but it is bad. But it's also why I try to be very careful because there is this video I've made. It's called Mr. Medicare. What's it called? Mr. Medicare Smeared or Paranoid. And that took me 2 weeks to make. The reason why it took me 2 weeks to make because it's kind of like I had to find the right live stream, and a live stream is really long. a live stream is like 3 hours long. So I have to look for like something Mr. Medicare said for like 5 seconds, in a 3 hour long live stream. So it's like I had to go through different live streams to look for specific statements. Then, it's kind of like people say politically incorrect stuff in statements. People like and it's kind of like there are people that say that it's technically against YouTube's rules, so it's like what I had to do is that I took the time out to edit out each and every single statement that wasn't politically correct. And all that took a long time. It took me such a long time to remove everything that wasn't politically correct.
Yeah, that reminds me of the recordings that came out of from Kraut, one of your Discord servers. The one had V in it, right? That was being played on Andy Warski's channel, I believe. If you wanted to use that one, right, you'd have to go through, was it like four, 4 or 5 hours, right, of just separating out what Andy said, just to get a video that was like maybe 30 minutes long, and then picking the points out of that. Mind you, that in itself is actually against the terms of service as well, because you're not actually allowed to put video of people's conversations on YouTube that are unaware of the recordings.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that hasn't been, those kinds of videos haven't been flagged yet.
Is that because Andy Worski is in Canada? Because from what I hear, that Canada doesn't have the exact same wiretapping laws that the United States have. That it's like as long as you're in Canada, like only one person has to be aware of the conversation is being recorded, and that he really can in Canada be able to publicize a secretly recorded conversation, but that is illegal in my state.
And it could be that, or it could be that just the YouTube bots have a different flavor of the month where they're just trying to target a certain thing. Where, so like a couple months ago, when the actual more maybe a year ago, when the rule came out about having videos of recorded conversations of people unaware of being recorded, maybe they did it then, but they don't do it now because they're just trying to filter out things at a certain time. They've just given up on it because less people care about it. More people care about the hate speech in quotation marks.
Yeah, more people seem to care about, hate speech, which is why it's kind of like it took me a long time to just edit out each and everything that could be flagged for hate speech, for homophobia. It's like, oh, that's homophobic content. Oh, that's, misogynist content. It just took me a long time to just edit out each and every single thing that could be viewed as ableist. It just took me a while. So I almost think that, I mean, if the EU were to go through Article 13, it would be a lot. This would be a lot better for me as a U.S. citizen because we don't have all those stupid laws.
Yeah. Palmer says if you upload a mirror of someone else's stream, right, and keep it private, you can then search through the auto-generated transcripts to find what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to upload someone's 4 hour stream, that might actually save you time looking for certain things.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
I mean, I wish I could do that, but I live in Australia and my internet is shit. I mean, it takes like an hour to upload, maybe 15 minutes. So
Yep. Yeah, I don't have that problem. Even my longer videos, hell, I've even like on a my separate YouTube channel. There's not again there, but it's like I actually like uploaded a movie there. It's on private, but it's like I uploaded a movie and it took like I don't know, like maybe 15 minutes to upload upload a movie.
Yeah, I'd have to strip the video out and just put a black screen in just to just to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What
Um.
else?
Oh, also, wait a minute. I think I've already said this before, but it's like the way to get past. Yeah, I've said this before. The way to get past Switzer's rules is to just speak a foreign language because Switzer doesn't check for foreign languages.
I wonder if the reason why I haven't been flagged yet or had a successful flag is because it may not just be the English language, it may just be accents, and the system's really good at picking out American accents and British accents, but the Australians that sound like they're drunk all the time, like myself, uh, aren't getting picked up as often because we swear our words together.
Yeah, it's kind of like I've noticed that even though YouTube is like it goes after misogynist words, I noticed that Bering isn't affected by misogynist language.
Yeah, that's right. The only times he's been taken off was for one using the copyrighted bear, and I believe the other one was, I believe, advertising. I think VPNs maybe.
I think it was because he was advertising cannabis oil.
Ah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's illegal in Australia as well. So maybe he got busted because it was illegal in Australia, and America just couldn't give a shit. Maybe it's the Australian government applying pressure on YouTube as well.
Maybe. I think we covered everything. Because it's kind of like I have nothing else to say. Do you have any more points?
Nah, I got nothing.
Uh, uh, I think I would address something. Beard and then just says, "Do you believe V was involved with doxing Medicare?" I have no idea.
Yeah, I doubt it. Really doubt it because if you really want to docs Medica, etc., there are websites like Kiwi Farms and 4chan with all sorts of people who have all sorts of talents, and they're much more likely to be doing it than V. I mean, V. I have a hard time believing that V actually has a YouTube channel and he's actually managed to make this so many subscribers already, right? Because he says some dumb stuff, right? I mean, he's a pretty good YouTuber, right? But I don't think V's capable uh, of doing any of this. If I would say, if at worst, what he's been guilty of is reading these forums, but getting the information, I doubt it.
When it comes to me, I just need
Proof?
more evidence, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past anybody, because anybody could be capable of anything because we don't know these people. Like, they're not our real life friends. It's not like it's not like they're our real life friends where we know them personally. We only know them through the internet. So it's kind of like, is we capable of doxing? I mean, probably, but it's kind of like there hasn't been enough evidence that he is guilty of that.
Yeah, a lot of the problems right now we're having is a lot of the evidence is sort of like guesswork or guesstimations. Like
Well,
where Jim
well,
had
eh,
a thing
well,
about,
in
yeah,
America, we call that circumstantial evidence.
that's it. where Jim, he saw a folder that just said Jim on it on someone's stream, and it was just like, oh, what's in there? And there's just a lot of assumptions being made that, oh, they're definitely doing something dodgy because they have a Jim folder, or say with the target list that the was it doxing server, in quotation marks, had, the target list was seen as something like as it was a nefarious doxing list. But reality is everyone's had some kind of target list. Whenever I make a video or when I plan to make videos, I have people in my mind about who I want to do videos. Sometimes I write them down. Right. So if you're making a server that's dedicated to go after alt-right videos, you're going to have a target list. Now, whether or not that server was actually doing dodgy stuff, I think they were either doing dodgy stuff or they were too close to doing dodgy stuff, and that's why I didn't like it. But there's a lot of stuff where people see things and then let's go, they must be doing sort of dodgy stuff.
Actually, this is where I disagree with you a bit because Mr. Medicare did have a video series called Tales of the Trouts that did involve secret recordings where it's kind of like where it was like what's it called, Operation Mincemeat, where it's kind of like Kraut, since he got the dots of Coach Red Pill, he gave the dots to the Guardian. The Guardian gave it to King of Pole. The King of Pole posted it on Kiwi Farms. And once it was on Kiwi Farms, Sargon of Akkad read it aloud, even though that Sargon in the secret recording knew that Krautsensi got the dots of Coach Red Pill. And he was even, I mean, there were screenshots of Krautsensi saying, I dots Coach Red Pill.
Yeah, I think the problem about keeping track of all this stuff is that there's just so much, and there's so much grey stuff that after a while you start distrusting what you see. Because remember what I said the last time when they had the recording of, I think it was V and Trout. Now I'm calling him Trout. V, Trout, etc. talking. Like, I believe you were disappointed at seeing that. I was mainly just tired at seeing all that stuff, and I had to go through something like 4 hours of stream, right? And then in the end, right, I was just more like confused than anything about what was actually happening.
Yeah, it does seem like they were guilty of doing some terrible things. But I could barely remember it now because it's like it's a 6 hour long live stream. I don't really want to re-watch 6 hours of live streams just for specific statements. But I think that that Donga was definitely guilty of doing some shady shits. But it's kind of like who would want to re-watch a 6 hour long live stream just for a specific statement? I think that whatever Andy Worsley's goal was, he has done himself a disservice because I'm not going to re-watch 6 fucking hours just to get a 5 second long statement. You can forget that.
No, especially since Andy did the whole, blood sports thing. That, well, there's lots of shady stuff in the blood sports, right? And sort of like, well, you don't like the shady stuff, but you're into blood sports, right? So it's sort of like shady people complaining about shady things, and the whole situation just seems shady, and I just don't want to have any part with it. I just don't want to touch it.
Yeah, for me, I don't really interact with I only interact with people who are interacting with me. I don't use Discord Discord. It's like because it's like got locked out of my Discord. At one point, it's like, well, I'm locked out of Discord, and so I just forgot about it. Anybody could talk to me on Twitter. I'll talk to anybody on Twitter. I don't care if you're a progressive. I don't care if I mean I talk to anybody who wants to talk to me, and I'm not really affiliated with any particular group, I'm just doing me.
I told you I was invited to that AKA doxing server, but I never saw the invite because I rarely check Skype.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even use Skype. I mean, Twitter and Ask FM are pretty much and YouTube are the only places that people could reach me. And the best place to reach me is on Twitter. And if you don't reach me on Twitter, you're not going to reach me anywhere else because I am pretty much always on Twitter and I don't really use any other websites aside from Twitter.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. Like I must have got that invite at the time they were setting the docking, the Discord up, and because I was a friend of Kraut, and then when I checked it, it had been after all the leaked videos had come out, and the server had been shut down. I tried the link; it wasn't available, um, and I was just like, boy, am I lucky to be just like not involved in this whole situation because there are some people who were on that doxing server that just didn't do anything. They were just there, and then they had like everything investigated about them.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I don't really get involved with people. I am so glad that for the most part, I have just kept it to myself and don't really interact with people. And all of my interactions have pretty much been on Twitter and nowhere else. It's like I am pretty much glad because it's kind of like at this point of time, I am really glad that I don't use Discord at all. It's like, yes, because it's kind of like, I'm so glad that I've just been, for the most part, been keeping it out of drama. I mean, at least when it comes to the Discord stuff. I mean, sure, there are people who want to argue with me on Twitter, people who are angry that I've defended Medicare, people who are angry that I've defended Ethan Roth. It's because it's like, well, I'm against, people being unpersoned. It's kind of like if Mr. Medicare gets his channel terminated and lost his Switzer at the exact same time, I'm going to speak out against it because it's creepy. If I don't think, Mr. Medicare is paranoid, and somebody says, "Hey, what do you think?" Because it all started because Liz Reptile asked me, "What do I think of this whole entire situation?" And it's like, okay, here's a video of what I think into the situation. It took me 2 weeks to make. Mr. Medicare is not paranoid, not that I could tell.
Mm. I think he might be a little bit, but at the same time, he's got good reason to think that people are going after him.
Well, his name, James Patrick O'Shaughnessy, has been doxed. Gotten put on Kiwi forums, and it's kind of like there are people who clearly hates the guy. There are people who clearly just outright hates him. So it's kind of like, well, isn't it natural to suspect that the people who hates you are the people who are probably involved with doxing your name?
Hmm. You remember what happened to Wasley? Uh Not that anything particularly happened to Wasley, but he was on that server, and not that he did anything on it, but a lot of the criticism was that he didn't do the right thing in calling shit out, right? But that whole drama, I think, basically affected him so much that he's now very bitter about everything.
Yeah, like I didn't really see anything on him, like, and he did make a video defending himself. I didn't really. It seems like he was just there, and he proved that he barely participated because he went through the I well, basically, he went through something that keeps a record of all of your conversations or something that keeps a record of participation. And he kind of proved that he was barely involved. What happened is that he was just there, and he says, like, it's not a good idea. That it's been called targets, but there's like really nothing on him. And he's in none of the audio leaks. Like in all of the when it comes to the audio leaks, no, his voice wasn't there at all. So it seems like it seems like in his case it was guilt by association.
The what's really strange is that the audio things. I believe that's Kraut's fault because I believe Kraut insisted on having those audio chats recorded himself. Because the time that I spoke to him about a past drama a long time ago, he insisted the audio of that Skype chat be recorded as well. I think
So
he wanted the audio recorded, for his own protection.
who knows? I mean, but it largely backfired against them.
Mm.
I mean, because very few people trust crowd these days. Like, it's like the people who trust the crowds are very few in number. I mean, even I don't trust crowds. I mean, like even Liz Reptile, if she wanted to show like Crowds and T being dishonest, it's like even I don't trust anything Crowds and T says.
Yeah, the most amount of trust that guy gets now is from the progressive types, and even then, they're not trusting him all the way, right? Because they had their own gripes with him.
Yeah,
Like
it
that.
seems like only the progressives trust Krasinski, and that's it. You don't see all that many people aside from the progressives that actually trust Krasinski. And even then, there are people out there that still don't trust him or don't like him because, Christiosity, she doesn't like Krasinski because Krasinski went around spreading a fake screenshots of that made Christiosity look like a neo-Nazi. Like he made a fake screenshot where she said a bunch of racist statements, and she still doesn't like Krasinski for that.
I must admit that one. But then again,
Oh, I
I
posted it.
blanked out.
I posted it in my video. Like in my video defending Mr. Medicare, I actually did, gave copies of what Christiosity had of Krasinski having a fake screenshots of her, making her, adopt her screenshot, from using inspect elements where Christiosity said racist things, but it's not actually Christiosity said it. It was a doctor screenshot drew inspect element.
Yeah, I think we had a chat about this a while back that you can't really trust right screenshots now because more and more people know how to do the F12 inspect element and change actual content inside of a browser.
Yeah, which is why it's annoying me where there are people out there who hates Ethan Ralph, and they're kind of like, well, I have the screenshots, and I'm like thinking, listen, screenshots are not evidence because it's so easy to use inspect elements and get a person to say whatever you want.
Yeah, I want videos now. I want videos that have the screen being refreshed and moved. Just because I know that the screenshots are going to be they're so easy to fake.
Yes, like for me, this is what I accept as evidence. I either accept an archive link, so give me an archive link and I will believe it, or make a video, give me a video, refresh. I need you to click refresh where I know for sure that it's real and that you didn't use inspect elements, to, dots or anything because it's so easy to do. I mean, it may take, 5 minutes depending on how much you want done, but I mean,
You know,
you
I even found a way to get around the refresh thing too. So I found a way to fake stuff and also get past the refresh item as well.
you could get past wait. You could get past the refresh button.
Yeah. What you do is you have two browsers, and you do the F12 on both of the browsers, right? So you have the content copied. Um, you have you fake the evidence in both screens, right? And then when you do the refresh thing inside your video, after you've done the video, what you do is you take another video of your second screen and you cut it into the refresh. So when the refresh comes around, it's not refreshing the first window, it's just cutting into the second window, which is being doctored.
Yeah, that's the reason why it would be better if they live stream it, where
Yeah.
you are on a live stream and you refresh it on a live stream so that we know for sure that it's real. Otherwise, only an audio link. I mean, well, actually, to some the degree you could fake that too because you could cut out anything that would redeem the person, like, quotes mine, where it's kind of like it is possible to have an audio, but you remove anything or edit out anything that's, that could make what they do more innocuous.
Yeah, I mean, like how many people are going to be able to get that audio, put it through an audio program to spot the cuts in audio? Not many.
Yes,
And
so
even people would even try to spot it.
yeah, so basically you could trust nobody. That's why I don't really get involved with people. Like, it's kind of like at first, it's like I probably would get involved with people because it seems like a great way to grow my own channel. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get involved with people to grow my channel and I'm going to grow my subscribers. But now it's like, fuck that shit. I don't really want to get involved with anybody. The only way anybody could get into contact with me is through Twitter. And if it's not through Twitter, you're not getting in contact with me.
And it just takes one person. I believe in the last audio log releases from Kraut and V, there was a separate incident where there was a person who made fake screenshots of Andy's DMs with a an underage girl, right? And those were faked. That was one person who was intent on creating drama. So if you create like a community, it only takes one person to go in there and just start dropping people's doxes and start editing screenshots and saying this is what her community is like. Like and what the problem is they come at seeing like they're like the heroes because they're the ones releasing the information of all the bad stuff that you've done. But in reality, they've just manufactured everything.
Yeah, you can manufacture these things because Andy Worski insists that the screenshots of him being a pedophile are fake and that he would never do such a thing. And I don't think Andy Worski is a pedophile. I mean, he seems to really be in love with Sinead. He seems to really care about Sinead a lot. And then he was flirting with Booberly. So I mean, I highly doubt that Andy Worski is a pedophile. And it's so easy to fake those things. And like there was a person who wanted to investigate this, so they want to see how easy it is to fake something like that. Like, well, look at this. I faked the conversation with Andy, and it only took me a few seconds. It's so easy.
Hmm. So who's this Sinead? Is it Sinead
Shan-
O'Connor?
Sinead is like Andy Worski's now as oh, you don't know about the Sinead drama. Okay, basically, Sinead and Andy Worski broke up, and while they were broken up, Andy Worski got like really drunk and he was flirting with Booberly.
Mhm.
And then, but they were broken up. They were already split up. So what happened was when Sinead and Andy Worski got back together, they were dating again. Both Takasaw and Booberly contacted Sinead and sent Sinead screenshots of Andy Worski asking Booberly for her boob pics.
Oh, okay. So the point of this
Yeah.
lesson is if you're gonna have a relationship, have one that's offline that doesn't even know that you have a YouTube channel. Hide that shit from them because if people on the internet know about them, they're gonna know about what you said, every single thing, including the fake stuff.
Yeah, so basically, Chakasaw ruined Andy Worski's relationship with Sinead.
Oh, this is why blood sports was a bad idea, specifically for them. I mean, it was hilarious for us, but for them, oh, it was just a rabbit hole they shouldn't have gone down.
I mean, uh, I do like drama to a certain extent. To a certain extent, I do like drama because I've seen a few episodes of the Kill Stream and it was funny, and I have been laughing at the Mr. Medicur's Metsocast. But I never really got into the blood sports because I it seemed like people got into fights deliberately just to get on the blood sports.
Yeah, I mean the audio logs that came from the last Kraut one, well, wasn't Donga referring to going hard on Kraut and then easing into him as if it was like a wrestling kayfabe.
Donga, he was a lot like, yeah, Donga, man. So sorry, I was just thinking about all the Donga shows. It was a lot like, what was it? He's like, I'm going to be really harsh to you. I'd be like, "Hey, I hate you, Krauts. I think you suck and whatnot." But then Krauts is going to give evidence to Donga, and it's like, well, look at this. Well, look at that. Well, look at that. And it's like, well, it's kind of like, well, what you're saying is that you're a liar, you're a fake, you're a phony, and I can't trust you. And I don't trust Krauts and T either. It's like I'm surrounded by people that I can't trust. For me, I don't feel like I could trust a V either, and I feel like I can't trust Sargon either. It's like my trust for people. I mean, I'm feeling like I'm turning into what's it called? A misanthrope or
Uh,
misanthrope?
Misanthrope. Yeah, people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I could trust fewer and fewer people. Like now, it's like I trust like next to nobody. Like I feel like I could trust next to nobody because it's like the most honest people seem to be like the people who are on Twitter with 5 followers. It's like
Yeah.
that person on Twitter with 5 followers. They are the ones that seem to be completely honest. While it's kind of like a bunch of people. It's like it's like liars everywhere. Everywhere's a liar.
Oddly enough, the person on Twitter who's like, screeching the most hateful things about someone, you know, they're probably the most honest people around, right? Because they're not even caring about like social norms. You know the thing about Andy when the audio chat came out and they were referring to the Donga and Trout's like, kayfabe thing as being gay ops, right? All I could think about during that time was like, wait on, if Donga is doing these kayfabe things, right, and gay ops, like what what's what would make why would he be any different now than he is from when he was doing blood sports with Andy? How, like, surely he was doing kayfabe back then, and surely Andy knew about it, you know?
I think he was on the kill stream and he tried to explain how Tankasal was like, but nobody on the kill stream believed him because I do think I was watching Andy Worski's channel. It's like I try to tell the people of the kill stream this, but nobody believed me.
Oh, what, Andy?
Yeah, Andy said that he tried to tell people how Tankasal was like behind the scenes, but nobody on the kill stream believed him.
Or maybe everything on the kill stream back then was also kayfabed, and they sort of, like if everything is made up, right, then when someone tells you the truth, right, you're not going to believe them no matter what.
But by the way, can you keep talking? I have a cold, and my cold is really acting up, and I really need to take some medicine right now. I'm gonna just pop in some medicine. I would be right back, but this cold is killing me right now.
Sounds like sounds like Rin's being DDoSed by bacteria and pollen. Oh, I mean, I've sort of been worried about being dragged into this drama for so long because I had drama of my own a long time ago with the SJW crew, and Trout defended me. I mean, I'm calling him Trout uh, by accident. Um, Kraut, he defended me in this massive video, right? Which a lot of people have been, uh, trolling through it, right, trying to find incriminating evidence. And I've ended up actually being in a Medica video twice. I think once from that video, and secondly from the time when I had told Kraut that what's his name? Sharat had actually faked his own docs, right? And when those things come up, those videos, I'm just sitting there going, please don't investigate me. Please don't investigate me. There's a whole heaps of drama in the past, right? That I'm okay with. I'm okay with, right? But I don't want it being dragged up again. And I'm just thinking, this is what people are going to do, right? If they if they think I'm working with Kraut or anyone, which I mean, I haven't spoken to Kraut for a long time, but that's a concern. That this whole thing is it just like, even if you've got a peripheral connection to any of these people, right? That there's a concern that someone's gonna take something that you said and then just gonna like assume that you mean something else, that you're a part of this whole collusion because you're friends with Kraut, etc. Is there any questions in the chat? No? Ask them now. Also, hit the like button because Rin's an excellent YouTuber who should get more views. But the dirty globalists are trying to take her freedom away. And we need all your help, right, to fight the gay frogs. Okay. Someone talk to me, please. I'm lonely. I need your help. I guess we'll wait.
Hello, I'm back. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just. I tried. My brain stopped working as it is now.
Yeah, oh, I'm really sorry, but for everybody, it's just that I was just really, really sick, and it was an emergency. It was an emergency that I took medicine because I was having difficulties breathing because of the cold, you know.
How cold is it there?
Huh?
Or are you I have you got a cold or is it cold there?
It's not cold. I have a cold, and
Uh,
because I was having a cold, I had difficulties breathing. I had to take some cold medicine, and I had to just yeah. I not only did I took cold medicine, I took some Allegra to just so I could breathe.
you know what I've noticed about I think Americans is when they refer to like they'll tell you what medication they're on, uh, or the name brand. Like say like in Australia, if someone's got a cold, we just say cold medicine. Or in America, if they've got a cold, they'll tell you the brand name. Have you noticed that with that naming name brands is a big thing in America?
I haven't noticed that, but it's like for me, Allegra is absolutely amazing when it comes to being able to breathe because I was actually having difficulties at work because I forgot to take Allegra. So I had like a really difficult time at work because it's kind of like I need to just, go aside, every once in a while so I could, do clear the passageways. That's kind of like Allegra works wonders. Like once it kicks in, you could breathe all day long. Like you could actually breathe all day long. It's great.
I think the stuff we have here is like you might get 2 hours.
No, no, for me, like once when you take an Allegra tablet, it would work for like 24 hours. It's kind of like it is. It's almost like witchcraft because it's like wow, it's like I could breathe all day. I no longer need to have a handkerchief or anything. I could just take a pill, and it's like it's just like I don't know. It's like I'm perfectly fine, Except Allegra doesn't do anything for coughing. That's the reason I took Allegra and cough syrup.
You know, cough syrup has like cyanide in it.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, cyanide's like the stuff that like kills you, but in tiny quantities it lowers your heart rate.
Yeah, I mean, I took lots of cough syrup, to stop myself from coughing. And it's like because it's kind of like this cold is really, really bad. And I'm just looking for Allegra to just kick in and just really just, I don't know when I'm going to start noticing the effects, but I mean, I'm looking forward to breathing again.
So actually I want to talk about the stream.me.
Yes, yeah, I've been watching the kill stream for a while.
Have you
Yeah.
noticed the screenshots being passed around by the certain types that don't like free speech with I believe that's got a channel called Murdoch on it, or just Murdoch.
Oh, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it
But I
to
do
you.
notice that there are people who are angry that Ethan Ralph found streaming. And like there are people, they straight up told me that Ethan Ralph should have zero platforms. And they even said that they are going to make sure that they contact stream me. And they said that they're going to make sure that they platformed Ethan Roth, and I think I had him tagged in the conversation. Like I think I made sure
Mm.
that he was tagged in the conversation, and I, sent him the tweets where he says because this goes against my own beliefs because I do not like this witch hunt mindset because you because okay, like okay, first they even before Alice Jones, they got rid of Bering. They got rid of Bering, and it's kind of like with Alice Jones, they were harsher with Alice Jones, and then they're going after Ethan Ralph. We know that they're not going to stop it with Ethan Ralph. They're going to go after Medicare, and then after Medicare, they're going to do everything they could to get rid of Styx Hexenhammer, and it's kind of like eventually. I mean, when you're getting rid of offensive people over the internet, eventually it's going to work its way to me.
Oh yeah, they tried for a long time to get rid of Sargon, but Sargon's sort of like he's in the grey area uh, of where people will allow a little bit of edginess, but Ethan and the Killstream they did pass the grey quite a bit. Ethan's sort of becoming the deaf uh, that goes to each door
Hmm.
because Killstream's probably going to die. I believe. Was it?
Yeah, because what would happen is they're going to go after PayPal, they're going to go after Stripe, they're going to make sure to disconnect them from their payment processors. If StreamMate is attached to GoDaddy or discuss whatever, they're going to do is they're going to try to go after their domain registrar. They're going to make sure that they get rid of the guy because they want him to be nowhere. And the thing is, they don't get why I would care when I mean, like think about it. They went after Bering. They went after Alice Jones. They're going after the Killstream. I'm pretty sure that if they could, they would go after Stick Hammer. They're gonna go after Sargon. I mean, eventually, it's kind of like it's going to work its way around because it's like first it's like you saw how angry they got with Alex Jones, but now they're bored. They're bored. So it's like, well, what happens when they're bored is that they look for somebody else. Eventually, they're going to get bored of going after Ethan Ralph. Eventually, they'll like, man, I'm so bored of doing this. They're going to look for somebody else. It's like, they'll probably go after JF next. It's like, it's just going to work its way around to more and more and more people until, I'm next, I would eventually be next.
I mean, how many stories have we heard about like free speech incidents on campuses where a left wing person has been gone after because they weren't as left as people wanted them to be?
Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
I mean, Jermaine Greer, obviously people going after her because she's somewhat like a turf, which she said things like turfs, and therefore she's being deplatformed, etc. Um, I believe there's
Oh, yeah, they will go after the turfs. Like they even punch turfs. Go to Twitter and type in punch a turf, and you're gonna see a bunch of results for punch a turf. There are lots of people advocating for it. They're actually advocating it. They're telling people to go do it.
well, it's only a matter of time before those people will get kicked off Twitter, and I suspect some of them already have, just by mentioning punch a turf.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like even those people the people you call turfs, you could if you find their channels, that even they are being very, very careful. They try to be very careful with how they phrase things to not, be affected by YouTube's algorithm. They want to put things as delicately as possible.
Hmm. I think we've discussed everything, I believe.
Well, I mean, let's look at chat's. Chat's isn't saying anything right now. Right now I just have Stalin, the man of steel, saying, "There's my girl." Thank you, Stalin. I never thought I'd ever say that, but there you go. I'm saying thank you, Stalin.
The man of steel. Uh,
Yeah. But I think we have discussed everything, like the alternatives, like what's we could do as free speech advocates is just for everybody to go to vk.com because I mean when it comes to the pro censorship people, it's like everybody has the targets on their backs. Like that is the reason why I've defended Ethan Rudd is because it's kind of like they're going to get bored. They are definitely going to get bored, and they're going to go after somebody else. Then they're going to get bored of that person, go after somebody else, get bored of, and it'll eventually work its way to me because I could barely say anything on Twitter as it is. As it is, like what could I see on Twitter? It's like that's the reason why I just share videos and share nature pics there because it's kind of a lot like if I say anything too edgy, I'm going to get reported.
I mean, yeah, how many times has Tim been suspended?
Yeah, it's him as a progressive. It's like I mean, it's bad, but it's hilarious at the exact
It
same
is.
time. It's like I mean, I like it Tim because he's always treated me well, but at the exact same time, I can't help but find it completely hilarious. I can't help but keep laughing at it because he is a progressive, and as a progressive, it's like he's like the right people or part of the beautiful people, and he keeps getting suspended off Twitter. And it's just, I mean, I hate it, but it makes me laugh every single time.
I remember a while ago, there was the I believe it was hashtag free Kevin or something like that.
Oh,
Uh,
Kevin Logan got suspended off Twitter.
no, I believe it was the YouTube a while back.
Oh, yes, that did happen. Kevin
Yeah,
Logan
and
did get.
people wanted me to support that, and I said no because uh I knew that Kevin actually did stuff that was like not just like ordinary stuff or like criticisms of people that were getting him flagged, but like real dumb shit like showing nudity and drug use in videos. And I didn't want to defend anyone who wasn't even trying uh to not get flagged. I mean, I'm okay with people like doing edgy stuff, right? But like just doing silly stuff when you didn't need to do silly stuff. Like I don't want to defend idiots. But anyway, I told Tim that I wasn't going to do it because I knew Kevin had just been flagged for doing stupid stuff, right? And he's like, "Oh well, you're against free speech, then I guess." And I'm like, "Oh well, I defended you because there is a video of me defending his YouTube channel, I believe, but Kevin, no." I remember Kevin got busted a while back for showing a nude picture of Zoe Quinn. That's how stupid he does things.
Well, we can't exactly defend all of the people all of the time because, like so many people have gotten suspended off Twitter, YouTube. It's like you can't really defend everybody.
I mean, that you got to have some line, right? Like, I'm okay with YouTube, right, stopping people from just like uploading porn, right? So
Also, there's like Pornhub for that,
yeah,
and
if you
RedTube.
want porn, go there, right? If you don't want it, you can go to YouTube. You're okay, right? But like, if you start uploading like just pictures of Zoe Quinn naked, right? Yeah, that's where I stop defending your free speech.
Wait a minute. I do think YouTube has age restricted mode because I do remember I did see something that looked like porn on YouTube, but it was on the age restricted mode, and you had to click well, you had to log in, and after log in, you had to like confirm that you're over 18.
Do you notice the dodgy thing about that is I think one of the reasons PayPal gave for moving away from Gab was that it had porn on it, right? PayPal's got a big thing about not supporting porn. However, you can use PayPal to do super chats, etc. And there's pornographic material on YouTube. I know that for sure. They label it under education. There's pornographic stuff on Twitter. PayPal supports that. Uh, so PayPal's a little bit hypocritical. They'll get rid of one site for porn reasons, but not another one because one site makes a little amount of money for them, one site makes a lot of money, so therefore their morals sort of go out the window.
Well, wait a minute. I think Mr. Medicre's friend, Mr. Antsy Bully, I think he had actually like a solution on how to get past PayPal. I think that the way you do it is through what's it? Wait a minute, let me find the tweets. Oh, I found it. According to Mr. Ansible, have any of these companies tried a Panchino solution with this yet? If I remember right, to avoid gambling laws, the machines are separate from the balls, which are separate from the exchange. Since three entities are involved, no single one is responsible for its being gambling. Couldn't they theoretically set up a PayPal account separate from BitChutes for arts, in quotation marks, have people buy the arts, have the artists then exchange the funds for quotes digital art supplies end quotes from a holding company that BitChutes owns. And I thought Mr. Anti-Bully had a good idea.
Uh that probably doesn't work because it's you could class it as fraud.
Oh,
Uh
really?
yeah, because it's essentially gaining funds through lying. And whether or not you're lying to the people or not doesn't matter. It's you're lying to the government. Noticeably, the IRS will jump in on that because then you'd be claiming taxes on the wrong thing. I think the Pacino thing only worked right because it was being done by uh, an illegal organization in the first place.
Well, wait a minute. Well, this is why Dick Rice, Stick, Sex, and Hammer sells a lot of different books so that people could just buy his books. I mean, I don't, I guess if you really want to support a creator, you could buy the exact same book multiple times, I
All the
suppose.
merch. I mean, in that case, that works right because when you're if you're giving money to Six X and Hammer, right, at least you're getting a product. You're literally getting a product, right? But if you were to be buying, I think in his case, I think he said something. There was a tweet below about buying art supplies or something like that. If you're buying like something fake, which the purpose of the money is really to go somewhere else, right? Then that becomes illegal. But if you're buying uh like products from Sticks, that's fine. That's one way around it. If you just move your way to make money off YouTube to a different area like merchandise, that's one way. But I doubt there's going to be enough uh, demand for BitChute t-shirts.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if people really, if Sticks gets loses his Patreon and loses whatever people, I guess if they really want to support Sticks and he loses Patreon, I guess they could buy his books several times or he could sell shirts. I mean, if you really want to support him, you could buy that shirt, sell multiple times, sell it to a friend, or you could just, cut it up and, repurpose the shirt for something else, you know.
I think the other one you're going to be worried about is I believe I can't remember what law it is, but the government has ways of like putting criminal charges on a group of people if their total actions equal a crime, but individually they're not doing a crime.
Mm.
So in that way, if you split like your business into three parts, right, to avoid doing something you have to do legally, then they're going to bust you for it. And I think you're going to run into more troubles with the IRS than anyone else.
Yeah, it's hard because it's kind of people are going after PayPal, people are going after Patreon, people are trying to, like, not only are people trying to get people deplatformed, but they're also trying to cut you away from any money.
Oh, and you. So we've mentioned VK, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
we need to look into.
but VK is censorship. You can't get paid through it though. Like it would just be a way for you to talk and discuss things, but you won't be able to get any money because
Maybe there's
that's
payment processes outside of the UK that we can look into.
uh,
Outside
a
of the US.
payment processes outside of, I guess, America to in the UK, something away from this progressive bullshit. Like maybe there's a Russian payment processor that doesn't give a fuck about political correctness.
Well, I've seen ones from China and India.
Oh, you think that could work?
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
the trouble with using the ones from Russia is there might be sanctions on Russia right now.
But we could look into India and China, and I mean, if there is an alternative payment processor, I could tell Stick Sex and Hammer about it.
I believe there's a thing called WeChat in China.
Each.
It's like a social media platform slash money transfer thing. But what you do is you just carry around your phone. You've got like a bank account on it, right? If you want to go to a store and buy something, right? What they do is they say, well, it's $10 for this, right? And then you punch in $10 on your phone, right? And the phone will show up a little barcode. They will scan that barcode, and then that $10 will go from your bank account to their bank account, and it's all done through a social media program. And you can just literally just send money to other people via their their handles, and it's called WeChat, I believe.
Yeah, I found something called WeChat. It's a powerful, customizable, full-featured IRC plugin. Is that what you're talking about?
Um,
Multimedia servers, proxy supports. Is that what you're talking about?
it's WeChat, WECHAT. It's a WeChat is a Chinese multi-purpose messaging, social media, and mobile payment app development by Tennyson. That's what you want to look at.
Because what I'm thinking is kind of like if we did find a great alternative processor, we could tell Stick Hammer about it, and Stick Hammer would probably make a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, although that's China, and China's got a big free speech problem. So
Oh, well,
yeah,
never mind then.
but they've got over a billion uh, users, so there's an alternative. It's whether or not China will actually care about what you're doing. I doubt it.
Though, Chinese people probably don't care what's said in English. They
No,
probably don't. Like, if we're speaking English, how many Chinese people even speak English?
just don't mention Tiananmen Square, and you'd be fine.
I mean, so wait a minute. Do you think that Stick Hammer would be interested in knowing about alternative payment processors that progressives can't do anything about?
Yeah, I doubt progressives could do anything about WeChat.
Yeah, that's the reason why I think that if we gave it to Sticks, Sticks could make a YouTube video on it, and Sticks could spread the information, you know, make sure that the information is spread so that, because it's going to affect more and more people, which is my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that it's going to spread because it's kind of like okay, like let's be honest, like progressives wanted to get rid of Sargon, get rid of V, they want to get rid of Bering. It's not going to just end with like getting rid of the kill stream and the Ralph retorts, they're going to make sure that they're going to try, at least they're going to try to get rid of Sarga, try to get rid of V. They're going to try, and it's going to spread into more and more and more people, you know.
Yeah, because how lots of people used to call themselves liberal. Now liberal's a bad word because progressive is like what's in.
Yeah.
At some point, progressive won't be in,
Yeah,
and then
and
they'll be.
it's kind of like, like people. There are people who are. It's weird because there are people who are, I guess you would call them anti-feminist, anti-SJWs, that actually are happy and thrilled and excited that the kill stream is gone and Ethan Ralph is gone because they hate them as a person. But if they ever watch, The Descents of Man Ausyarr by Kevin Logan, and how many people agree with Kevin Logan that like people who are similar to them are shit. Like Kevin Logan had made a video about how like Vernaculus is like a sexist misogynist, and he is like keeping track. He kept track of everybody who was in some way, shape, or form connected to the alt rights, including the Pepe, because Pepe is associated with the alt rights, and if you are an anti-feminist and you use Pepe, it's like, oh yeah, well you're connected in some way, shape, or form, and it's kind of like some of the arguments. It's like, dude, you do realize that the arguments that you've used against the kill stream are arguments that Kevin Logan has been using against you.
Mm. And you remember the time when he went after Sean Head?
Kevin Logan, if I recall correctly, he views Stonehead as a turf.
Yeah, like he took so long making that video, he had to have a haircut because he was trying so hard to like in you know to dirty her name.
Yeah, and it's like they do get away with it because it's kind of like, well, what happens is they're connected to Jared Holtz, who's connected to Right Wing Watch, and and Jared Holtz, I think he also has connections to BuzzFeed, and so what happens is they go to Jared Holtz, and then it's written in the press, and then it's kind of like then your name is smeared. It's kind of like how there is an article somewhere saying that Sargon is a racist, the bigots, and there is an article saying he's a misogynist, and he's a troll and whatnot. And it's kind of like, like it's kind of like if you're not, distinctly a progressive, your name's gonna get smeared.
Mm. Yeah, when Sargon goes, you're next, essentially.
Huh?
Oh, like if Sargon goes, right, or whoever you want to get rid of, just think that the next person after that could very well be you. But I
Yeah,
don't think these people will notice. Will think
yeah,
that.
it's kind of like, that's the way I've been thinking. Like the next person, okay, I highly doubt the next person is going to be me because I'm a teeny tiny channel. Like I only have like 800 subscribers, but I keep thinking that even though I'm not going to be the very next person, that's, I'm probably am going to be, one of the like top 300 to 500 people. It's probably going to take a while before they get to me, but I don't want them to get to me ever. I would like to, yeah, I don't want them to get rid of me ever. And not only that, but I mean, I actually do enjoy watching Mr. Medicare. Mr. Medicare is funny. He's entertaining. He makes me laugh. I don't actually want him to be on a person.
You never really know because all it takes is for YouTube to have a change in their bots, and their bots are just like wipe like thousands of channels off. Sort of like how they did with the LGBT thing, right? Where it's just like they wanted to age restrict everything, right? So they just put in like certain terms, and then all of a sudden, all these LGBT channels just got like put into restricted mode. So it doesn't take much for big changes to happen.
Yes, so it's kind of like even if I'm not manually flagged, all they had to do is change the box, and then I'm fucked over anyway.
Yeah. I mean, think about how many times Tim's been suspended. You know, if Tim's getting suspended, it could be us for the next day.
Well, that's the reason why I've just been speaking Japanese to get past the censorship, and that's what I recommend for other people. What I would recommend is that if you want to say anything edgy, if you want to say something that is likely to get you in trouble, say it in don't say it in English, basically.
Oh, don't say it in German either. German's very bad option too.
Yeah, stay out of like when it comes to the EU countries, that's the ones that is guilty of censorship. So it's kind of like if you are saying, like itchy things, but you're saying it in like Japanese, you are probably you're not going to be affected. They're not going to touch you.
Yeah, that or Russian.
Yeah,
Russian.
Russian. I mean, you could talk about the religion of peace in what's it Polish, like I looked up Polish terms, for all of the, like the umbrella terms for the religion of peace. And it's kind of like you could, you could say things to Polish, and if you could get enough people, if you get enough people, you could actually have a conversation.
Actually, perhaps Russian's not a good idea because you might get killed off for being a Russian bot.
Yes, we would probably all get punished for being a Russian bot. you know um Polish is a good one though.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
we
Poland
like
doesn't care about free speech either. I mean, they care about it.
Like, I'm not saying that people would have to, know the whole entire language, but you
No.
could just learn the things that would surefire would get you suspended off like Twitter. And you could just know like enough to just get past Twitter's censorship.
Or just run everything you say through Google Translate.
Yes, like that's what I did. It's kind of like, hey, like I have a problem with the religion of peace. Let me just put all of the terms in Google Translate, and then oh yeah, I can see this now, I can see that now. It's like, but the problem is like, you need enough people to have a conversation though. It's like otherwise, it's like I would be basically speaking gibberish to outsiders, and the other person would actually need to care enough to go through Google Translate to revert it back to English.
Oh, if you really want to be safe, just do everything through Navajo.
Navajo?
You know, Native American tribe,
Oh, like
like a Cherokee.
the way I was thinking, like I was thinking something like if people really want to say edgy things and be safe, put it in Arabic.
That's right. That's stuff that never gets like. I've seen some really horrific stuff on Twitter in Arabic, and it just stays there.
Yeah, it's like you could say the most horrific things,
Mm.
things that are probably against the US Constitution, like because the US Constitution doesn't cover a call to violence, but you could call for the death of parentheses, but you could do it like in Arabic and they won't give a fuck. So it's kind of like, oh, it's like if you really, really, really want to say something really horrific and terrible, and
Mm.
for like YouTube and even White Ring Watch and even like Wall Street Journal to turn a blind eye to it. See it in Arabic, and you could break every progressive rule. You could say these that are homophobic, transphobic, misogynist. You could say all the awful things he wants in Arabic, and they would turn a blind eye.
Oh, anything, just add phobic to it, and you can do it.
Yeah, yeah. So just do it in Arabic, and you could say anything you want. You would have the ultimate freedom, and it's like they would be afraid to touch you because they have one rule for English speakers, but they have another rule entirely for people who speak Arabic. And it's like it's so not fair. It's so not fair that we're not all held to the same standards. So it's kind of like because you're not holding us all to the same standards, fuck you guys. Like I've heard like I'm not sure how true it is, but I've heard that Jewish people had to leave England and Jewish people had to leave France because it's like they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing if the hatred is coming from, the religion of peace.
Mm. It's sort of like Louis Farrakhan, how he still has a Twitter account.
Yeah, like Louis Farrakhan, because he's connected to the Clintons, he still has a Twitter account. They don't go after everything evenly. So it's kind of like if you are Arabic, if you are, you can do anything you want with complete immunity. And it's like it's not fair. It's like God, it's so not fair. How come they get to do it all and we can't?
Farrakhan's an interesting one because he's got a connection to like the leaders of the Women's March, to the Clintons, and even to Alex Jones.
Man, it's
Isn't it?
not fair that we're not all held to the same standards. So it's kind of like, well, we may as well exploit the weakness, may as well just exploit the weakness and because if we exploit it, they can't touch us.
Yeah, I suppose like if like the weakness in the censorship at the moment is that they can only really affect like European and American companies. Everywhere else is safe, right? So if we go to places the Europe, outside the Europe, outside Europe and outside the US, um, the companies inside the US and Europe, right, might have to start relaxing on free speech, right, just to save themselves.
Yeah, just use foreign products because it's kind of like if so many people are tired and fed up with censorship, that more and more and more people start using VK.com because they can say anything that they want then to save themselves. American companies like Twitter and Facebook Facebook is too creepy to go back to, but Twitter and YouTube would eventually have to lighten up too. Because you can post videos on VK.com as well. Like I saw a woman getting whipped on VK.com.
Yeah, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I did a pretty good job. I hope. Hope we didn't miss anything important.
Okay. She curated said, I thought WeChat was the Chinese WhatsApp. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
um.
I do try to engage. I do try to just read chats and everybody's voice is heard. But yeah, I think we've covered absolutely everything. I guess it was a bit of an echo chamber, but at least we were addressing solutions. At least it wasn't just, oh yeah, I agree with what you say, and you agree with us. So we actually look for solutions that could help
Yeah.
because Stick Sexton Hammer, he's gonna be next. Sargon, they're gonna get to him too. They're gonna get to V. They're gonna get to. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, because roaming millennial is very careful. Maybe not roaming millennial because she's way too careful. But it's like Chris Raycon, they're gonna get him too. Everybody's gonna get affected eventually.
Yeah, so I suppose the way we can conclude this is diversify the platforms that you go to. Go to VK, go to BitChute, even go to like Minds. Just diversify if you can. Um, the only way to prevent yourself from being killed off is by having these alternatives, and that's the only way you can move forward.
Well, I think that VK is better than Bishop's and Mines, mainly because its headquarters is in Moscow, Russia, and they cannot go after PayPal or Stripe because it's in Moscow, Russia. They can't do anything at all. There's already hate speech all over the place. It's not being touched.
Oh, Liz Reptile just turned up in the chat. Hey,
Based
Liz.
on oh yeah, I mean, hey, Liz. In this video, I've covered solutions. I've been looking at solutions to what we could do to combat censorships, and I've been addressing loopholes.
Yeah, a quick rundown is move to vk.com. It's Russian,
Yeah,
and therefore is not susceptible to the things that are attacking
yeah, and
Gab.
VK.com, I mean, it may be Russian, but it's automatically set to English. So don't
Yep.
be turned off by the fact that VK.com is the Russian website. Keep in mind that everything is going to automatically be set to English, and it is a loophole to the censorship that we are dealing with, and we are pretty much unbannable. Like, it would be impossible to ban us there. Anyway, yeah, Liz says, "I saw some laugh alert." Anyway, I think we covered everything, and I don't think there's anything else we could add. And my cold is getting even worse than it is now. The medicine has really kicked in right now, so I could barely breathe. So I guess we'll end it here. Ausyarr, do you have any final words?
Um, diversify. That's it.
Yeah, and right now I really can't breathe right now. So I just had to say, like, I'm sorry, everybody, but thank you for watching. Goodbye. Goodbye. I'm just too sick. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye.